Hi, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, the Art Sherpa, and in 10 easy steps, I'm going to show you how to paint this water drop in acrylic paint. Go ahead and click the description below for the materials list, but also here it comes. Get your paint, get your brushes, come back and meet me at this easel right now, and don't forget to subscribe. Hey guys, I just want to let you know that Golden Glazing Liquid Gloss is both a glaze and also slows the drying time down of the paint, so it's a blender. So anytime I use any of those words, medium, blender, glazing, any of that, I'm really just talking about the Golden Glazing Liquid. Step 1, I'm going to take my number 10 bright and make a soft gray, a slightly darker value than my reference photo for the outline of my drop. I'm pulling the paint out from the outer edges. You can see how far up the bristles I am. I'm pulling out my blending medium, and I'm going to rough in the shape just on the outside of my water drop. Hey guys, I want you to take a minute and look at this reference photo for the water drop. Notice how the outer ring around it is just slightly darker than what it's sitting on. This is going to be true whenever you paint a water drop on anything, and that's because of the shape of the water drop. Also remember that this is water, it's see-through, so you can see what's underneath it, and you've got to make sure that that's true in your painting too. Now I'm going to blend that in about a ½ inch. It's going to be a very, very soft blend. When you're trying to get a great blend on your painting, one of the things that will really help you to succeed is make sure that you're pressing the brush in very lightly to the canvas. Dusting it along, that will really help you. I'm using my bristles on my brush to soften and blend out this edge, pulling lots of blending medium so that I have a nice amount of control over my edge here. This should just be a little darker than the surface around it. Step 2. Take a little bit of your white paint and look at your reference photo. Add the highlight up here on the surface and also down here on the water droplet. We're going to refine these later, but it helps us to know where exactly they are for the shading of our water droplet. Step 3, I'm going to add the shadow coming off the drop. I'm mixing a fairly dark gray. I don't want this to be pure black. A quick thought on this shadow. I want you to look at the reference photo real quick if you're trying to decide where the shadow begins around the edges of your drop and where it ends. It's about the halfway point of this drop, and I used my reference photo to determine that. But if you were just adding drops to something, you could do these shadows about the halfway point. If the shadow is going to be very long, the shadow might be a little bit below the halfway point when it begins. I'm following the edge of my bubble, my water droplet carefully. I'm coming to the edge here. I'm pulling out a little ellipse of the shadow. I'm going to wipe my brush off, get my blending or glazing medium loaded on my brush, and soften this shadow edge. I don't want it to be hard. I want it to be a soft, blended edge. My brush strokes are very gentle. The pressure I'm using, pressing into the canvas, is quite soft. Just feathering and blending my shadow so that it does not make a hard edge. If you need to load more of your glazing medium onto your brush and then wipe it off to be able to continue to do this soft blend. Step 3, I'm going to add the shadow. Oh, I have. Okay. Thank you. Step 4, I'll now add the shadow to the back of our water droplet. It's important that you remember that the surface underneath the water droplet will be showing through. This gray needs to be darker than your first value you put around your drop, but not as dark as your darkest shadow. This shadow will come from where this shadow ends here and curve to meet up with this other shadow. It will be very important to blend. I'm softening the edge using my glazing medium. Just soften that up if you need to wipe off your brush to remove the excess pigment, so you can keep blending by using soft, feathering brush strokes. Step 5. I'm going to darken and define that shadow on the back side of my water droplet more. I'll make an even slightly darker gray. And up here at the top, blending in this darker value. Step 6, I will add the shadow to the opposite side of the drop. This shadow will be nearly the value of the one we currently have beneath it. But we will be darkening that later. Step 7, adding the highlight to the bottom of the drop. Wiping my brush off, still using a number 8 bright. I'm going to pull out more white paint. Adding glazing medium to it. I will carefully lighten this side of the drop. My brush strokes have a round directionality to help imply the shape of my object. This also helps me soften the edges between these two values. I'm making sure that my shadows line up nicely. Step 8, I'm going to define the shadow underneath the raindrop even further. I'll be pulling out, in this particular case, pure black. I'm softly blending these two edges together. This is done by using very light pressure and allowing the pigment to dust off my brush. This is where having a good brush can come in very handy. That's not necessary. Going to extend the shadow just a little bit up the drop in a very thin, fine line. Step 9, I'm going to soften and refine the values that I've laid into my water droplet to make sure that I don't have hard and noticeable edges where I don't want them inside the drop. I'm toning my white with a little bit of black, but still making it quite a bright value. Coming here and refining my highlight. If you have too much pigment on your brush, feel like you can wipe it off. Now I'm going to mix a slightly darker gray value and refine this side. Soft brush strokes are necessary. Step 10, I'm going to create a subtle but important, slightly lighter evaluation in the shadow right here. And now blending this very softly into our water droplet. Step 10.
Let's just call this a bonus step and be really grateful we're a painting, not counting show.
I'm going to take my number 4 bright and create the highlights on my water droplet. First, I'm going to pay close attention to this very important highlight I laid in early on. Then I'm going to find this highlight's sister down in the drop and define it more, but make it softer, more diffused. Finally, I will add outside highlight on the edge of my brush, the fine line. Always feel like you can switch brushes if a particular brush doesn't give you the control you need to get your result. I'm going to add a couple subtle highlights. Trying to keep my paint to the edge load of my brush. This gives me more control. And the last, but somewhat helpful highlight I'll be putting in is right here. I will tone this so it's not a bright, bright white, but lighter than the background I'm painting on. Add glaze so I have control over how much I'm seeing. Blending that out. Add a little bit there. All right. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me today. I had a lot of fun sharing this with you, but wait, I have more water droplets to share because sometimes these things are crazy shapes and sometimes they run. So I'm definitely going to show you how to do those too, where you can add that to all of your artwork, even your math homework, wherever you want to put water droplets is fine with me. If you think this is cool, be sure and hit that subscribe button and also share it with your friends. And I hope to see you at our next water droplet class or one of our really cool live events sometimes, because sometimes we hang out live and you can ask me crazy questions. They don't even have to be art related. You guys take care of yourselves, be good to yourselves, know that you're valuable, and I can't wait to see you at the easel again really soon. Bye-bye!